Good afternoon and welcome to today's New York City Council hearing for the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. At this time, please silence all cell phones and electronic devices to minimize disruptions throughout the hearing. If you have testimony you wish to submit for the record, you may do so via email at testimony@council.nyc.gov. Once again, that is testimony@council.nyc.gov. At any time throughout the hearing, do not approach the dais. We thank you for your kind cooperation. Chair, we are ready to begin.
Good afternoon, and thank you for attending this hearing of the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. Today's oversight hearing will focus on the city's intersections, sidewalks, and pedestrian safety. To that end, the committee will hear 14 pieces of legislation, including intro number 144, sponsored by myself in relation to the installation of bollards at reconstructed sidewalks, curb extensions, and pedestrian ramps. Before we begin, I'd like to thank all the committee members present here today, as well as my colleagues. We are joined by Councilmember Farah Lewis, Councilmember Julie Menon, Councilmember Oswald Feliz, Councilmember Joanne Ariola, and Councilmember Chris Banks. The Department of Transportation manages and maintains a vast portfolio of streets, sidewalks, intersections, and public spaces within the city of New York. With an annual operating budget of $1.4 billion and a 10-year, $33 billion capital program, the department manages over 6,300 miles of streets and highways, over 12,000 miles of sidewalks, and approximately 800 bridges and tunnels. In addition, the Department of Transportation maintains nearly 1 million street signs, 13,250 signalized intersections, over 350 linear feet of markings, and 2,600 automated enforcement cameras. In order to ensure the safety of New Yorkers, the department implements a number of measures to increase pedestrian and vehicle safety, including enhanced crossings, neighborhood slow zones, pedestrian ramps, and smart street design. Overall, the committee expects to learn about the work that the Department of Transportation is undertaking to safeguard pedestrians. As chair of this committee, I want to ensure that these DOT improvements are being employed equitably and efficiently throughout the city so that all New Yorkers benefit. In addition, our oversight topic, we will also be hearing, as I mentioned before, 14 pieces of legislation, which include intro number 79, sponsored by Councilmember Ressler in relation to installation of pedestrian lighting fixtures. Intro number 95, sponsored by Councilmember Shulman, in relation to a study on the feasibility of installing raised crosswalks, raised intersections, and speed reducers at intersections and roadways adjacent to schools, and to repeal section 19-189 of such code relating to the installation of speed humps on roadways adjacent to schools. Intro number 103, sponsored by Councilmember Ariola, in relation to notification of the removal of parking spaces. Intro number 104, also sponsored by Councilmember Ariola, in relation to requiring the Department of Transportation to consult with the fire department prior to approving open street applications in certain bicycle lane projects, and to notify affected firehouses prior to approving open street applications, bicycle lane projects, and major transportation projects. Intro number 301, sponsored by Councilmember Menon, in relation to installation of solar-powered crosswalks. Intro number 346, sponsored by Councilmember Narcisse, in relation to pedestrian crossing guidelines and right-of-way. Intro number 468, sponsored by Councilmember Williams, who has now joined us, in relation to Department of Transportation posting information on traffic control device and speed reducer requests on its website. Intro number 504, sponsored by Councilmember Abreu, in relation to establishing priority for sidewalks repairs at developments operated by the New York City Housing Authority. Intro number 542, sponsored by Councilmember Brannan, in relation to requiring The traffic study determinations be issued no later than 60 days from the date a traffic control device is requested by a city council member or community board. Intro number 663, sponsored by Councilmember Bottcher in relation to news rack requirements and to repeal and replace subdivision A of section 19-128.1 of the Administrative Code of the City of New York. Intro number 745, sponsored by Majority Leader Farias, in relation to requiring the Department of Transportation to conduct an annual study on bicycle activity. Intro number 746, sponsored by Councilmember Felix, in relation to the improvement of paved medians through the planting of vegetation or use in stormwater management. And intro number 773, sponsored by Councilmember Lee, in relation to requiring the Department of Transportation to notify property owners ordered to repair sidewalks of existing department plans to make repairs on same sidewalks. The committee hopes to hear input from the administration and advocates on today's bills. On today's bills. Each sponsor will also be given an opportunity to give opening remarks, as well as further details regarding their legislation. I will now turn to Councilmember Ariola to talk about her bills.
Thank you, Chair Brooks Powers, for hearing these important pieces of legislation this afternoon. Today we're hearing intros 103 and 104, both of which would require the Department of Transportation to be more transparent and listen to community input before making changes to our neighborhoods. Intro 103 would require the Department of Transportation to notify affected community boards and council members 15 days before removing a parking space. Many times our residents wake up to their parking spaces replaced with bike racks, no standing zones, with no prior notification or input. This bill would require the DOT to notify the council member and community board so that discussions prior to the removal can be had with residents and changes could be made if necessary. Intro 104 would require the Department of Transportation to notify affected local FDNY firehouses to prior approving open street applications and prior to implementing bicycle lane projects and major transportation projects. This bill would also require DOT to consult with the local fire department prior to approving an open street application prior to the construction or removal of any bicycle lane that would result in the removal of a vehicular travel lane or a parking lane. DOT would also be required to provide certification of such consultation. We are seeking response times to emergencies that increase year after year as more and more streets are being closed. Fire trucks are coming to screeching halts after nearby colliding with planters that have been suddenly placed to close off a street. Trucks can't make U-turns and or get on or off blocks. Non-car lanes forcing trucks to set up 10 feet further away from a curb, reducing how high a ladder can reach and how close New Yorkers are before they can be saved. The members of the local firehouses must be consulted before these changes are decided on, so they can decide if these changes will impede their response to an emergency. We need this legislation so that the members of the FDNY can respond quickly to fire or medical emergencies and keep New Yorkers safe. And I did have a chance to take a look at your response to both 103 and 104, and I will tell you that this was not generated because I had nothing better to do than want to make you have more work. It's generated because there's been problems with the current way you're doing things, and it needs to change. Chair, thank you for the time.
Thank you. Next, we will hear from Councilmember Menon to talk about her bill.
Thank you, Chair, for holding today's hearing. There have been far too many New Yorkers who've lost their lives for simply crossing a street. Last year in Astoria, a 7-year-old girl was killed by an SUV after a driver failed to observe a stop sign. A 76-year-old man was killed last October while crossing a street in Washington Heights. And in January, a 14-year-old teenager was fatally struck in Canarsie by a person driving without a license. New York City became the first city in the country to adopt a Vision Zero platform in 2014. 10 years later, it is clear more needs to be done. In 2022, there were 1,761 severe injuries, according to DOT. From January to September 2023, it was 1,840, which is simply unacceptable. That is why we need Intro 301 that requires DOT to install 500 solar-paneled crosswalks over 5 years. These can be illuminated crosswalks, stop signs, or other traffic signs. Any person can press a button before crossing the street, or DOT can install weight-activated devices. The devices would ensure distracted devices have a visual signal for pedestrians crossing. In addition, the bill requires that DOT would conduct a study on the effectiveness of traffic control devices, any challenges with these devices, and recommendations for their expanded use. From San Francisco to New Haven, Connecticut, communities have embraced solar panel crosswalks, and New York City can benefit from it. In fact, one study found that the odds of a fatality at an intersection crosswalk with street lighting is 54% lower than without street lighting. Just last year, there were 258 fatalities resulting from traffic crashes. A majority of these deaths, 61%, happened between 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. The 3 individuals I mentioned earlier were all fatally hit after 5 p.m. Clearly, this is a problem that remains unaddressed, and that is why this bill is necessary as an additional Vision Zero measure. I want to thank the bill drafter, Keith Felsenfeld, and from my team, Jonathan Shutt, Brandon Jordan, and Mercedes Anderson. Thank you so much, Chair, and I look forward to today's hearing.
Thank you. Next, we will hear from Councilmember Mercedes Narcisse, who is joining us virtually.
Hi. Thank you, Chair and my colleagues. I urge you to support this intro number 346, a bill designed to reform our approach to pedestrian crossing and decriminalize jaywalking in New York City. Our current jaywalking laws disproportionately impact communities of color. In just the first 3 months of this year, 96.5% of jaywalking tickets were issued to Black and Hispanic New Yorkers. This is very clear indication of systemic bias and how these laws are enforced. Intro number 346 seeks to correct this imbalance by allowing pedestrians to cross at any point while maintaining their safety. You heard it. A lot of folks that get hit by cars is on the crossing line itself. And you heard my colleague's bill just spoke about. This legislation I'm talking now, 346, will remove penalties associated with crossing outside of designated areas and provide clearer guidelines for pedestrian signals, aligning our laws with the reality of our city's dynamic streets. The bill is about fairness, equity, and public safety. It ensures that all New Yorkers can move freely and safely without fear of unjust penalties. I have never heard a New Yorker exclaim, being happy, said, I am so glad they caught that jaywalker. Never. By removing the criminal penalty associated with the jaywalking, we can redirect resources to more pressing public safety concerns. And one of the things I want to quote for you from New York Times, February 8th, 1998. There was a police officers, and one of the quote that I took out of this is just taking hard-earned money from people who cannot afford it. So when he was talking about jaywalking, to go out there and give tickets to those folks, and he knew exactly where he was going to give those tickets. It's not me said it. You can look at New York Times, February 8, 1998. So to bring it back, I am support of all my police officers, NYPD, that doing the right thing. But we have to understand there's folks that take it out of the realm. And those are the things that we have to create structure. And that's the reason of this bill. I urge all to support this intro, all my colleagues, number 346, and join us in making our city a more just and equitable place for everyone, not some. So thank you, Chair, for the opportunity.
Thank you and feel better. Next, we will hear from Majority Leader Amanda Farias to talk about her bill.
Thank you, Majority Whip. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Majority Leader Amanda Farias, and I'm proud to be attending today's hearing to discuss intersections, sidewalks, and pedestrian safety in New York City, and hear my bill introduction 745 in relation to requiring the Department of Transportation to conduct an annual study on cycling activity in the city for the previous year. On the DOT website, it reads that New York City DOT's goal is to accelerate the growth of safe cycling by providing a system of bicycle routes that traverse and connect all 5 boroughs, while also creating a dense, fine-grained network of bike lanes in communities where cycling is already a popular mode of transportation. My bill, Intro 745, ensures that this mission is met by bringing concrete data to the table to assess and reassess what is consistent, what is not working, and where we all need additional services. The study outlined in the legislation we're hearing today would require the department to identify key information like frequently biked streets and bridges to be able to make data-driven improvements to bike safety citywide. With more than 900,000 New Yorkers riding a bike regularly for commuting and work, and that number growing each year with our city's concerted effort to ensure New Yorkers are utilizing all the options to make them more mobile, we have to begin to collect the data needed to create the safest city possible for all. Thank you again to Majority Whip Brooks Powers for hearing this legislation, and I look forward to discussing it today based off of your response in your testimony.
Thank you. Next, I will turn to Councilmember Williams to talk about her bill.
Thank you, Chair. I'm here today to advocate for Intro 468, a crucial piece of legislation aimed at enhancing and expanding transparency and accountability within our city's Department of Transportation. As we gather here to address matters of intersection, sidewalk, and pedestrian safety, it is imperative that we also discuss the means by which we can empower our constituents with readily accessible information regarding traffic control measures. Our city streets are bustling arteries of activity filled with commuters, pedestrians, and cyclists navigating their way through the urban landscape. Ensuring their safety should be our paramount concern. Yet, too often, residents find themselves in the dark regarding the status of traffic control device and speed reducer requests within their communities. This lack of transparency not only breeds frustration, but also undermines the trust between our city agencies and the communities they serve. It is time for a change that places the power of information directly into the hands of our constituents. The legislation that I am proposing today would mandate DOT to maintain a comprehensive online database providing detailed updates. This database will include a lot of the things that the database already includes, but we hope it can include other things like the rationale behind approval or denial of requests, timelines, and any other relevant information that would increase transparency at every step of the process. By making this information readily accessible to the public, we empower them to actively engage with the decision-making process concerning their own safety, and no longer will be left in the dark wondering about the progress of their request. Instead, they will have the tools they need to hold our city accountable and advocate effectively for safety measures they deem necessary. And if I was staying for questions, I would have a ton of questions around how, what the cadence is around updating the current website that you have and the propensity to add additional things to it. So a lot of times they may get a denial, but they don't have like the details that you may send to our elected official offices about why you potentially denied something. Like that level of transparency is really not available to the public online. And so I'm hoping and looking forward to working with you all to figure out what other things can be added to the website to increase and expand transparency. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Next, we will hear from Councilmember Felice to talk about his bill.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here, and thank you, Chair Brooks Powers, for this hearing. Very proud of the many bills before this committee today, including my bill, Operation Green NYC. My bill will help create better communities for all New Yorkers by improving our street medians, many which are made up of nothing but concrete and pavement. It'll require that street medians be turned into green, 3 miles per borough per year. Street medians be converted into green. The greenery will bring millions of benefits to our communities. It'll not only beautify our communities, making them more attractive, including the neighborhoods that we live in, but also our small business corridors. It'll also help clean our air. It'll also help reduce noise pollution. The beautiful green will even help with mental health. And of course, even more than that, it'll also help on the issues related to flooding and other environmental threats that we continue to face. So many benefits. We need to be creative. We have many medians in our communities. They're made up of concrete, pavement. Many are already there. There's also many new ones going up. Why not beautify them with green? Why, instead of just creating nothing but pavement and concrete in our communities, why not build a green infrastructure so that we can easily achieve the many benefits that come with that? Thank you so much. Look forward to talking about my bill with all of you.
Thank you. And next, I'll read a statement prepared by Councilmember Lynn Shulman. Good morning, Chair Brooks Powers, members of the Transportation Committee, and all those in attendance. I am Councilmember Lynn Shulman, and I'm here to discuss Intro 95. Intro 95 is a critical piece of legislation that mandates the Department of Transportation to conduct a comprehensive feasibility study on the installation of raised crosswalks, intersections, and speed reducers adjacent to our city schools. This initiative is not just about infrastructure, it's about the safety and well-being of our children, who are among our most vulnerable pedestrians. Every day, thousands of students navigate busy streets on their way to and from school. Despite existing safety measures, we continue to witness tragic accidents and close calls. Raised crosswalks and intersections, along with speed reducers, have proven to be effective traffic calming measures in various cities worldwide, including here in New York City. These modifications not only slow down vehicular traffic, but also enhance the visibility of pedestrians, making our streets safer for everyone. The feasibility study proposed in Intro 95 will provide us with the crucial data on the practicality, costs, and potential benefits of implementing these safety measures. It will examine the specific needs of different school zones across the city, considering factors such as traffic volume, accident history, and the unique characteristics of each location. Importantly, this bill also ensures accountability by requiring the Department of Transportation to report its findings to both the mayor and the speaker of the council. This transparency will allow us to make informed decisions based on solid evidence and expert analysis, ensuring that any actions taken are both effective and fiscally responsible. I believe that the safety of our children should be a top priority. By supporting Intro 95, we are taking a significant step towards creating a safer environment for our students and giving peace of mind to parents and guardians. I urge my colleagues on the Transportation Committee to support this vital piece of legislation and work together to safeguard the future of our city's youth. Thank you for your attention to this important matter. Finally, as I mentioned before, we'll be hearing my sponsored bill, Intro 144. This bill would also require the Department of Transportation to conduct a study on the effectiveness of bollards in high pedestrian traffic areas through the city and develop guidelines no later than 6 months after the effective date of this local law, governing the installation of bollards during the repair or reconstruction of sidewalks, curb extensions, and pedestrian ramps. The use of bollards is an effective strategy in reducing traffic crashes and the resulting fatalities and injuries from these incidents, and so it is imperative that DOT develops a comprehensive approach to determining when and where bollards should be installed to keep everyone safe. Before we begin, I would like to thank my staff and the committee staff for their hard work. Kevin Katowski, Senior Policy Analyst, John Basile, Senior Policy Analyst, Mark Chen, Senior Counsel to the committee, Connor Mealy, Counsel to the committee, David Lowenstein, Legal Extern, Julian Martin, my Policy and Budget Director, and Renee Taylor, my Chief of Staff. I will now ask the committee counsel to swear in the representatives from the Department of Transportation.
Our first witnesses will be from the Department of Transportation. First Deputy Commissioner Margaret Forgione, Deputy Commissioner of Sidewalks and Inspection Management Leon Hayward, Assistant Commissioner of Intergovernmental and Community Affairs Rick Rodriguez, Director of Operations Monty Dean, and from the New York Police Department, Chief Thomas Alps. Will now administer the oath. Please raise your right hands. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee, and to respond honestly to council member questions? Thank you. You may begin when ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Brooks Powers and members of the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. I am First Deputy Commissioner Margaret Forgione. I am joined by Deputy Commissioner of Sidewalk and Inspection Management Leon Hayward, Assistant Commissioner of Intergovernmental and Community Affairs Rick Rodriguez, and Director of Operations Monty Dean. We are also joined by Deputy Chief Thomas Alps from NYPD's Transportation Bureau. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on behalf of Mayor Adams and Commissioner Rodriguez about the administration's work to enhance intersections, sidewalks, and pedestrian safety on New York City streets. DOT is responsible for operating and maintaining 6,300 miles of streets and highways. This includes maintaining roadways, curbs, and pedestrian ramps, and jurisdiction over 12,000 miles of sidewalk, as well as maintaining nearly 400,000 streetlights. All New Yorkers use roadways and sidewalks to get around, whether by foot, bike, wheelchair, bus, car, or other mode, and all of our goods travel to their final destinations on our streets. Our goal is to always make sure that that can happen in a safe, efficient, and environmentally responsible way. To that end, DOT continues to work hard and creatively with available resources to deliver high-quality, high-impact safety projects for New York City's streets and sidewalks, and our interventions are working. Last year, while pedestrian fatalities across the country reached the highest number since 1987, New York City had the lowest number of pedestrian fatalities since we started collecting data 113 years ago, other than 2020's year of pandemic lockdowns. These local trends are encouraging and show that the steps we are taking as a city to make our streets safer are working. Turning to the legislation before the council today. First, Intro 79, sponsored by Councilmember Ressler. This bill would require DOT to study lighting levels and install pedestrian lighting fixtures at 500 commercial corridors each year until every commercial corridor has sufficient lighting as defined in the bill. DOT recognizes the importance of street lighting in enhancing both street safety and accessibility, as well as the feeling of security, and we are committed to ensuring streets are well lit for vehicle traffic, as well as pedestrians in both roadway and on the sidewalk. In many cases, DOT streetlights provide sufficient lighting for both roadways and sidewalks, and separate lighting for each is not necessary. But DOT evaluates street lighting levels throughout the city on a regular basis. In locations that need more light on sidewalks, we often install additional lights on the back of existing poles over the sidewalk at a lower height, or even new standalone poles. We are also continuously enhancing lighting levels in intersections. Since the start of Vision Zero, we have installed 3,000 additional lights to illuminate sidewalk corners and crosswalks at over 2,200 intersections across the city. Enhancing lighting to improve the pedestrian experience is a core part of the agency's work. We conduct lighting studies based on DOT standards, including recommended practices and guidelines published by the Illuminating Engineers Society, the internationally recognized entity that sets recommended practices for lighting levels in various applications. If a study finds that lighting is needed in the location, DOT will install it, which requires extensive coordination with contractors and utilities. To install it, we often reduce the distance in between streetlights or add secondary lighting to streetlight poles. We routinely make these types of upgrades in any street reconstruction project, in addition to locations where we receive lighting requests from the public. In 2023 alone, we enhanced lighting at over 150 locations in Brooklyn, over 130 locations in both Staten Island and Queens, and over 100 locations in both Manhattan and the Bronx. DOT has concerns about this bill as written. The bill proposes an extremely high and uncomfortable sidewalk lighting standard that would be too bright even for an expressway. The bill also mandates a significant number of lighting installations without considering the challenges to installing new lighting. Installing new light poles requires working around obstructions caused by trees and hydrants and existing below-ground infrastructure such as gas mains and electric ducts, which requires extensive survey and design work. Installations also often require time-consuming and disruptive street excavations to lay new electrical conduit and cables. We would be happy to discuss with the council how we can enhance lighting in your districts and welcome feedback if there are particular locations of concern. Next, Intro 95, sponsored by Councilmember Schulman. This bill would require DOT to study the feasibility of installing raised crosswalks, raised intersections, and speed reducers at intersections and roadways adjacent to schools. DOT works to enhance safety at many intersections throughout the city, including those adjacent to schools, and also implements a wide range of safety treatments near schools. This work includes installing speed reducers and raised crosswalks, as well as other treatments such as school slow zones, school loading zones, turn calming treatments, new signals, all-way stops, and leading pedestrian intervals. We also implement a number of projects in the vicinity of schools. In 2023 alone, we completed 242 projects within a quarter mile of a school, including 124 turn calming projects, 106 street improvement projects, 7 bike lane hardenings, and 5 capital projects. For speed reducers, DOT has prioritized installing speed reducers near schools and has exceeded the legal mandate of installing speed humps on 50 blocks adjacent to schools, with annual installations adjacent to schools ranging from 60 to 100 per year. For raised crosswalks in the first 2 years of this administration, DOT installed over 80 raised crosswalks in-house and through capital contracts, with 45% installed near schools. To identify raised crosswalk locations, DOT primarily works from a citywide list of intersections that meet certain criteria for the treatment based on engineering judgment. For example, raised crosswalks cannot be installed on a bus or truck route or on streets with more than one lane in each direction. This list of intersections is then ranked by pedestrian injuries and killed or seriously injured, as well as other treatment citing criteria, which includes proximity to schools, parks, playgrounds, senior centers, and transit. This ensures we are targeting the treatment where it is most needed. We then review locations to ensure that existing drainage patterns will not be impacted and there are no conflicts with existing underground utilities. For raised intersections, DOT is exploring including raised intersections in some upcoming capital projects. The same drainage and utility conflict challenges that apply to raised crosswalks also apply to raised intersections, but it is even more difficult to find entire intersections that meet the criteria previously discussed. These types of projects may involve relocating or adding new catch basins for drainage and relocating utilities to make the treatment feasible. Each of these safety treatments is an important tool in our toolbox that we continue to plan and install. Given our ongoing work to implement these treatments near schools and other locations that would benefit most, we do not think a larger study is necessary nor valuable at this time. We would be happy to discuss this work further with the council, and as always, we welcome your partnership in identifying locations of concern and implementing critical safety projects in your districts. Next, Intro 103, sponsored by Councilmember Ariola. This bill would require DOT to notify community boards and council members 15 days before removing a parking space. DOT has serious concerns with this bill as it would slow the pace of operations and be extremely burdensome. Streets are fluid spaces and parking spaces are added and removed every day. Providing such notice would be overly burdensome for DOT, and the volume of such notices would undermine the usefulness for recipients. On average, DOT issues 2,800 construction permits each business day, 900 of which affect parking. With this bill, DOT would be required to send out 900 notices a day or 4,500 notices a week to community boards and council members. For permanent removals, DOT is already required to give notice before implementing major transportation projects that involve full-time removal of a parking lane. This bill creates a much wider universe of notice by including both permanent and temporary parking space removals that could include temporary removals for maintenance, construction, or resurfacing. Overall, this would slow down a significant portion of DOT's work, including implementing daylighting in 1,000 locations, which the council has advocated for us to do. Next, Intro 104, also sponsored by Councilmember Ariola. This bill would require DOT to consult with the fire department before approving an open street application and certain bike lane projects. Further, this bill would require DOT to notify affected firehouses before approving an open street application, a bicycle lane project, and a major transportation project. DOT works closely with our sister agencies and believes that such coordination is important. We already consult with FDNY on these projects, including meeting regularly with FDNY's Bureau of Operations Planning and quarterly meetings between DOT's borough commissioners and each FDNY borough commander to discuss our projects and solicit their feedback on potential issues that may arise, including concerns raised by local firehouses. Typical changes we make after FDNY review involve adding daylighting or changing geometry of neckdowns and islands to ensure fire trucks are able to make necessary turns, modifying locations of new pedestrian space and clear paths to ensure hydrant and building access is maintained, and modifying signal timing to reduce congestion along a desired response route. These are important conversations that we will continue to have, but such communication must continue in a centralized manner. We defer to our sister agency on how best to disseminate information between the borough commanders, FDNY operations, and the firehouses. Next, Intro 144, sponsored by Chair Brooks Powers. This bill would require DOT to install bollards as sidewalks, curb extensions, and pedestrian ramps being reconstructed to make them accessible, and to study the efficacy of bollards in high pedestrian traffic areas throughout the city. Bollards are an important tool in the city's toolbox. In partnership with NYPD, DOT previously installed over 800 security-related bollards at locations chosen by security experts, including in Times Square, Rockefeller Center, the Empire State Building, and St. Patrick's Cathedral. These locations were chosen after careful analysis by security experts, which is critical because installing security bollards is often complicated and expensive, potentially costing millions of dollars at each location. It may involve moving or accommodating underground infrastructure, water, sewer, power, and telecommunications, subway tunnels, and building vaults. It can also interfere with pedestrian ramps and block curb access for loading and unloading of goods and passengers. DOT understands and supports the intent of wanting to use additional tools to keep pedestrians safe. However, crashes that take place on sidewalks are horrific and shocking, but are responsible for a very small percentage of pedestrian fatalities and serious injuries. They are also hard to predict. Given this, and that DOT already considers this tool where appropriate, we do not think a larger study is necessary nor valuable at this time. Moreover, we have concerns with this bill as drafted because it would tie critical safety and accessibility work to one specific treatment that is costly and complicated to install. Next, Intro 301, sponsored by Councilmember Menon. This bill would require DOT to install at least 100 solar-powered traffic control devices at crosswalks annually over the next 5 years, and to study the efficacy of these devices compared to regular crosswalks. DOT frequently tests new materials to enhance safety on our streets and would be happy to do additional tests for promising technology. However, we have done some preliminary studies of the type of technologies envisioned in the bill and have some concerns about their efficacy. The agency previously tested a small number of illuminated stop signs and found no notable difference in compliance compared to regular stop signs, and also tested rectangular flashing beacons to supplement warning signs and did not find significant improvement in yielding rates. However, according to the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, in-roadway warning lights cannot be used at intersections controlled by traffic signals, stop signs, or yield signs, meaning only a limited universe of intersections would be eligible for that type of treatment. In addition, analysis from other jurisdictions across the country identifies greater benefits in higher speed, lower traffic streets, which are typically in non-urban settings. Research also indicates a flashing light fatigue effect, in which the more widespread the treatment, the less effective it is. Finally, this bill would require DOT to install a large number of devices, significantly more than is needed to determine efficacy. That said, we would be happy to discuss possible new technologies and small-scale pilots with the Council. Next, Intro 346, sponsored by Councilmember Narcisse. This bill would permit pedestrians to legally cross a roadway at any point, including outside of a marked or unmarked crosswalk, and allow for crossing against traffic signals. It would legalize the activity commonly referred to as jaywalking and specify that no penalties can be imposed for jaywalking. DOT continuously works to enhance the pedestrian experience throughout New York City. In the first 2 years of this administration, DOT delivered 1 million square feet of new plazas, sidewalk extensions, pedestrian islands, and more. We have implemented a record number of safety initiatives and intersections, including adding leading pedestrian intervals at 6,000 intersections to give pedestrians a head start, and this year we will be adding daylighting to 1,000 intersections to improve visibility among all road users. We also look to add mid-block crossings where needed to shorten walking distances. Although jaywalking is a common practice in New York City, it can have deadly consequences. Over the last 5 years, 200 people lost their lives while crossing the street mid-block or against the signal, making up about 34% of all pedestrian fatalities. Our laws require that all road users, including pedestrians, share the responsibility of abiding by the traffic rules designed to keep us safe. Therefore, we have concerns with fully legalizing this practice. However, we do support reducing the penalty for such behavior and removing the criminal summons and replacing it with a civil summons. We look forward to discussing this further with the Council. Next, Intro 468, sponsored by Councilmember Williams. This bill would require DOT to make available and searchable on its website information on speed reducer and traffic control device requests. I'm happy to say that DOT already has such a page on our website. If you go to Contact the Commissioner page on our website, you can find the link to Check Case Status Map. You can enter the case number or search the address to check on the status of a request. If a 311 service request was submitted, there is also a link on the page that takes you to the 311 page to look up your previously submitted request. We would be happy to discuss this page further with the Council and how we can make this information more accessible. Next, Intro 504, sponsored by Councilmember Abreu. This bill would require DOT to prioritize sidewalk repairs at senior-only NYCHA housing developments, then non-senior NYCHA housing developments, and report to the Council which sidewalks have been repaired and a timeline of sidewalk repair for NYCHA developments. The goal of DOT's sidewalk program is to ensure the safety of all pedestrians who travel on the city's over 12,700 miles of sidewalk. DOT budgets $4 million per year for NYCHA repairs. While NYCHA is responsible for sidewalks within their development, DOT is generally responsible for sidewalks on the outside perimeter of NYCHA developments. We coordinate with NYCHA to prioritize locations for our sidewalk repairs and consider factors including the presence of older adults and people with disabilities, as well as complaints. But DOT also repairs sidewalks in front of schools and parks, in addition to certain privately owned property, which are also important locations that attract high numbers of pedestrians. DOT has concerns with this bill as drafted because it could slow down emergency sidewalk repairs, interfere with our ability to prioritize locations for repairs based on numerous factors, and be difficult programmatically. We would be happy to continue conversations with the Council about our sidewalk program, our prioritization process, and how this can improve. Next, Intro 542, sponsored by Councilmember Brannan. This bill would require DOT to issue traffic study determinations no later than 60 days from the date that a traffic control device is requested by a City Council member or community board. DOT understands the importance of and shares the Council's intent to increase efficiency in traffic studies and communicating such studies determinations. However, we have serious concerns about this bill as it is too restrictive and does not consider the many requests for traffic studies that we receive. Last year, DOT received over 3,000 intersection study requests and completed about 2,000. Studies take time and resources, and in order to get the most representative data, they are often scheduled so locations can be studied at the most appropriate times. For example, intersections adjacent to schools should be studied when schools are in session. While being selective in this way increases the average completion time, it allows us to get a more appropriate and accurate representation of the activity at a given intersection, which this bill could limit. Of the over 3,000 traffic study requests DOT received last year, 350 were from council members and community boards. By requiring the DOT complete requests from council and community boards within 60 days, this bill would necessitate prioritizing such requests over those received from the general public, which could lead to more people submitting their requests through their local council member or community board. We would be happy to discuss our intersection studies further with the council and welcome suggestions to improve our processes. Next, Intro 663, sponsored by Councilmember Botcher. This bill would repeal the current news rack requirements and replace them with new requirements for news rack maintenance and placement. DOT has previously supported news rack reforms and would be happy to discuss this bill further with the council. Next, Intro 745, sponsored by Councilmember Farias. This bill would require DOT to conduct and make public an annual study on cycling activity in the city for the previous year. The study would include which streets and bridges are most frequently biked on and recommendations for enhancing bike safety in these areas. Cycling is one of the best ways for New Yorkers to get around, and more New Yorkers are taking advantage than ever before. Bike ridership in New York City has reached an all-time high. On a typical day, there are 610,000 cycling trips made in New York City, with cyclists biking 220 million trips annually. DOT already posts cycling ridership and activity data on our Cycling in the City webpage, and this information is also available through open data. DOT updates the website throughout the year as data becomes available, rather than annually. DOT uses data from local and national sources to determine cyclist trends, how frequently New Yorkers ride bicycles, and how that frequency changes over time. While we do not have counts for each city street, we have other metrics to determine where we install new bike lanes and where we implement safety improvements to the existing network. This includes NYPD crash data, DOT's Green Wave Plan, which outlines a full network of local and connector bike facilities, community input, land use, bridge access, street priority investment areas, and count data. We would be happy to discuss this data further with the council. Next, Intro 746, sponsored by Councilmember Felice. This bill would require DOT, in collaboration with Parks and DEP, to modify vacant paved medians by planting vegetation or adding stormwater management infrastructure at a minimum of 3 miles of paved medians per borough per year until all medians have been improved. This administration shares the council's goal of enhancing resiliency through New York City, and we support the bill's intent. With an increase in the intensity and frequency of storms, the administration has increased its focus on stormwater management infrastructure. DOT works closely with our sister agencies, including DEP and Parks, to make infrastructure more resilient and to coordinate our response to extreme weather events, including adding stormwater management infrastructure. DEP regularly studies and identifies areas that need interventions, and DOT and DDC then incorporate stormwater infrastructure into our capital projects. Furthermore, since the Unified Stormwater Rule came into effect in 2022, DOT has also embraced installing precast porous concrete panels in capital projects. Roadway reconstruction projects that disturb over an acre of the sub-base of the roadway, or any project that adds 5,000 square feet of impervious surface, are required to include stormwater management practices to reduce impervious space. DOT and DEP have either completed or plan to complete in the near term approximately 92 linear miles of porous pavement that will result in approximately 450 million gallons of stormwater managed per year, the vast majority of which has been installed as part of DEP projects. Beyond DEP's focus on stormwater management, DOT and DDC also implement planted medians through our capital program along Vision Zero Great Street corridors, priority bus corridors, and greenways, among others, for community beautification and greening. In total, we have installed approximately 7 acres of planted space along these corridors, which will grow to more than 14 acres in the coming years. While we support the bill's intent for furthering resiliency in green space, we have concerns about its blanket mandate. It is important that we are able to target our efforts to the locations most in need of stormwater infrastructure. We also have concerns about the resources such a mandate would require and the ongoing maintenance needs. We welcome feedback regarding particular locations of concerns in your district and would be happy to work with our sister agencies to respond. Finally, Intro 773, sponsored by Councilmember Lee. This bill would require DOT, prior to issuing a notice of violation for a sidewalk defect, to determine if DOT or Parks already has plans to repair the same section of sidewalk. If so, DOT's notice of violation would need to notify the property owner of the planned work and not issue a violation if such work would begin within 90 days. DOT coordinates closely with Parks and other agencies on sidewalk repairs. Prior to construction, DOT performs a conflict check comparing the sidewalk repair plan with DOT and Parks scheduled projects and coordinates with the appropriate staff if there are any overlapping projects. DOT and Parks also have quarterly coordination meetings. It is important to note that a notice of violation for a sidewalk defect is a non-monetary lien and there is no fine associated with the notice. In addition, DOT does not issue notices of violation for sidewalk defects caused solely by tree roots. Finally, in the last 5 construction seasons, less than 1% of sidewalk repairs by the city have been made within 90 days of issuing a notice of violation. While DOT supports the bill's intent to avoid redundant work, we believe this bill may have the opposite effect from what is intended. This bill would create confusion about who is responsible for making sidewalk repairs, delay such repairs, and thus potentially undermine sidewalk safety. We would be happy to discuss our current coordination efforts and how they can be improved with the council. In conclusion, I would like to thank the council for the opportunity to testify before you today on the work DOT is doing to enhance intersections, sidewalks, and pedestrian safety on New York City streets. We would now be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that, Commissioner. I'll start with questions on my bill that's introduced and wanting to know, has DOT previously studied or relied on third-party studies of bollards, and if so, what were the findings?
Can you repeat the question? Third-party
Has
studies?
DOT previously studied or relied on third-party studies of bollards, and if so, what were the findings?
Okay, so I'll start, and then Monty Dean can also add in his thoughts. So when it comes to the placement of bollards for security purposes, currently NYPD determines if the bollard is necessary from a counterterrorism point of view. My understanding is that sometimes third parties do come forward and make the request. I don't know if that's what you're getting at, but then NYPD would work with that party to analyze the need, have that party provide information, and then my understanding is conduct their own analysis on whether or not the bollards are necessary.
But just generally outside of the security bollards, has DOT engaged with any type of studies around the bollards? I feel like in a past hearing, DOT did share that there was information that they leaned on to make decisions about bollards and what have you.
For the security bollards, as Commissioner Forgione said, we do rely on NYPD. For other types, it sort of depends on the circumstances. We don't have a study that I'm aware of that we've done of where they can be used, but we've used them, for instance, bell bollards on pedestrian islands to protect from turning vehicles. Those are the sort of most common type of bollards that we use for non-security purposes.
That you've conducted a study for?
We have not conducted a study.
You haven't,
no.
okay. What safety advantages does DOT feel bollards provide compared to other sidewalk or street treatments?
Thank you, Councilmember. Well, certainly for the security bollards, they are intended to stop vehicles that are going at speed from mounting the curb. For other types of bollards, as I mentioned, there are the ones that we call bell bollards or martello bollards, which are sort of lower to the ground that we use mostly on pedestrian islands because they address vehicles who are making a turn onto that street and try to prevent them from getting onto those islands. The only other instances, there are a handful of instances where, for instance, pipe bollards might be used, but it's usually for things like preventing people from parking in those areas or from backing into something. But it's those, because they're not security rated, they're not intended to stop vehicles that are going at speed.
And currently, what factors does DOT consider when deciding whether or not to install bollards?
Well, when it comes, again, to the non-security ones, it's really just to make sure that those pedestrian islands are protected from turning vehicles. And then, again, only in instances where we think that there might be a likelihood that someone is trying to park in an area that's intended for pedestrians. So those are the types of uses that we're looking at.
And how many bollard requests does DOT receive annually? What do you feel the percentage of requests are fulfilled with the requested bollard installations, just as a follow-up to that?
We'd have to double check what the exact number is, but as Commissioner Forgione said, a lot of them are people who might request for private properties, and then the NYPD would make a determination of whether it's necessary or not and would do their own assessment. So we would have to look to see what the number is on an annual basis.
Would somebody be able to look for it while we continue with the hearing?
Yeah,
We'll
well,
try to get that number, but I don't know that we do have it readily available.
Thank you, Commissioner. How, has DOT studied the use of light or medium duty bollards?
I think that would be sort of what we were describing as the Martello bollards or the pipe bollards. Again, those would be mainly in instances where somebody might be trying to park in an area that pedestrians are using or backing into something. So it's sort of limited instances where those might be useful and wouldn't be preventing vehicles from driving onto sidewalks.
In 2018, $50 million was dedicated to DOT for the installation of 1,500 bollards. Was that threshold met?
The dollar amount is all either spent or programmed, yes. And the total number of bollards we have in so far from that is about 800. And we'll have to double check if there's still more that are in the pipeline.
That'd be good to know, because our understanding is that approximately 300 bollards were installed in fiscal year 2019 and fiscal year 2020, and then nothing since then.
That sounds correct. We'll double check the dates, but yes, there were many of the high-profile locations that we did. For instance, Empire State Building, St. Patrick's Cathedral, as was mentioned in the testimony, were done during those years.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to move on to a couple of questions on jaywalking, and I'm going to probably come back to some of the questions for Councilmember Narcisse as she sends them to me. But press reports and data analysis from the council have found that jaywalking tickets are disproportionately given to Black and Latino New Yorkers. Has there been any analysis or review to determine the cause of this disparity? And certainly no one can claim that only Black and Latino jaywalkers ever jaywalk, so just wanting to understand that a bit better.
So good afternoon, council members. My name is Deputy Chief Thomas Alps. I'm the Executive Officer of the Transportation Bureau. I did an analysis of the jaywalking summonses written year to date in the New York City Police Department. And let me just describe my findings. First of all, less than 1% of our criminal court summonses issued year to date involved a jaywalking offense. 23 of the 77 commands across the city have not written one jaywalking summons. 8 of the 77 commands across the city have only written one jaywalking summons. So that findings, this is not widespread, and it's not common that a jaywalking summons is written. And we're talking for the 4-04 VTL offense, criminal court summons. When you look at the arrests year to date, related to jaywalking, where jaywalking offense is constituted or put on an online booking sheet. There were 49. I'm sorry. Let me give you the correct number on that one. But I'll say 49 of the 77 commands have no arrests for jaywalking when you do a look back to 2022. The remaining 28 commands throughout the city, and we're going back to 2022, 17 commands had 1 arrest related to jaywalking, 7 had 2 arrests related to jaywalking, and 1 command had 3, 1 command had 4, 1 command had 5, and 1 command had 6. So again, when we talk about arrests for jaywalking and criminal court summonses issued for jaywalking, it's not common and it's not widespread. So then we look at the jaywalking summonses issued year to date. So I looked at citywide, there was 439 jaywalking summonses issued year to date. And when I looked through the commands, the 77 commands, the one command that kind of popped off the page was the 115. The 115 had written 45 summonses year to date for jaywalking. It's a large number. We haven't seen a number like that in maybe 2 or 3 years. So it was particular interest of us. Let's look at this command, what's going on. I'm aware of the concerns that the council members have. I understand the data on the back end and that it disproportionately affects certain communities, and I understand that concern. We have guidelines in place within the police department that prohibits bias-based policing. We have implicit bias training currently being conducted and given to all the executives within the police department, which I have partaken in. And we've had fair and impartial training conducted by all the officers in the police department. So again, I understand the data on the back end is of concern, and it was concern to me. So I look at it. I do the dive into the 115 specifically. So I look at the 115's data. They write 45 jaywalkers year to date. This is a command that is #1 in the city for pedestrian fatalities. Okay, they have 4 year to date. 3 of their 4 is on 37th Avenue. 2 of those 3 was a pedestrian crossing outside the crosswalk, and it was a pedestrian error that resulted in fatality. The other one was 2 blocks off Northern Boulevard, which is a corridor that DOT and NYPD are working in unison and doing an initiative where we're doing outreach, NYPD is doing enforcement, and then there's engineering concepts being conducted on that corridor in and of itself. So there's a lot of focus in that area. So I laid out the pedestrian fatalities for you. Again, I said 3 of them happen on 37th Avenue. So then I mapped out the 45 jaywalkers that was written in the 115 for the year. Approximately 75% of that 45 were written in close proximity to 37th Avenue where those 3 fatalities happened. Plus, there was 20 pedestrians injured on that corridor, that 37th Avenue. So it gives clear indications there's precision policing taking place. They're looking at data, they're understanding it, they're saying there's fatalities happening here, there's pedestrians getting struck and injured, this is where we need to do it. The other 25% of that 45 that they wrote year to date was written on Roosevelt Avenue. Very familiar, very topical, Roosevelt Avenue business district. They've had 19 collisions year to date on that Roosevelt Avenue where a pedestrian was struck and injured. Again, it points to precision policing. They're recognizing data, they're doing their enforcement based on that. What really was of interest and of highlight, we do our first mode to combat traffic fatalities, specifically pedestrian fatalities, is outreach. We have street teams, and our precinct personnel go out into the street and we hand out flyers. It educates the public and the pedestrians how to navigate the roadways safely. It gives them tips. This precinct, which is the highest precinct in pedestrian fatalities, has handed out 907 flyers year to date. That's versus 291 last year. That's telling me that this command, the 115, that's wrote the highest number of jaywalker summonses, recognizes the fact we've got a traffic safety problem in the 115. We need to get out and educate. As a matter of fact, that 907 surpasses all they did last year in outreach. In 2023, they wrote 897. So I'm looking at data, and I'm saying they understand the problem. They're going out there to educate the public first and foremost, and then when they have to do enforcement following this educational outreach, they're doing it in the right locations, the right place. So I said to myself, okay, let's just go back and look at 2023 then. Make sure that the 115 is practicing fair and impartial policing. Let's look at to make sure that they're doing it right. So we look at the 115. In 2023, they wrote 13 jaywalking summonses. So I said, okay, where are they writing the jaywalking summonses? I mapped it out. You look at it. In 2023, they wrote 5 jaywalking summonses on Roosevelt Avenue. Again, the corridor that we all know is a problematic concern, business district. That year, they had a fatal pedestrian struck on Roosevelt and B-Way. So again, it's precision policing. They're going where they need to go on Roosevelt. Their other 5 was written on 37th Avenue. So they know 37th Avenue is an historic problem for them, for pedestrians. And matter of fact, they wrote that 5 summonses, and then this year they got the 3 fatalities, which is really, thoughtful and insightful. They know the geography, the landscape, and the problems. So they wrote 5 of their summons on 37th Avenue, and the last 3 that they wrote in that year was on Northern Boulevard, our Vision Zero corridor that we work in partnership with. So the 115 knows their community, they know the issues, and I'm comfortable in how they're doing their analysis and they're issuing the jaywalk summons in total. So again, it's not a summons that is commonly used, but it is used. I would say, and I'll just point to this fact and I'll give an example. I think, especially in 2024, there's all these different modes of transportation that have evolved. We got bicyclists, we got e-bikes, we got stand-up scooters, we got mopeds. And then obviously we have vehicles and we have pedestrians. I think each mode of transportation should have an expectation, a certainty of what's going to happen when they're moving down the roadway. And I'll use the example of a bicyclist. If you're in a bike lane and you're traveling down your bike lane, and you're comfortable, you're in your protected bike lane, you don't expect a pedestrian to walk out in front of you, because that pedestrian can walk out in front of you and you can swerve off and go into the roadway and get struck and killed or struck and seriously hurt. Or you can hit that pedestrian and fall to the ground and hit your head and be seriously injured. So I think there needs to be some level of certainty when you're moving down the roadway that the other modes of transportation, whether you're a pedestrian, a motorist, an e-bike, a moped, a stand-up scooter, that they're going to follow the rules that we all know. And when you just have straight no consequences for, as we were just discussing, jaywalking, you have no certainty, and it's going to cause collisions, it's going to cause fatalities, as was noted by DOT, with 200 pedestrian deaths mid-block, 34% of our fatals over the past 5 years. And then on top of that, we have injuries that are occurring mid-block as well, not just fatals that we can point to. So there is, we have 5,360 persons who were struck or injured mid-block, in the past 3.5 years. That's DOT data.
Can I just interject a question? Because I appreciate the context. So, what traffic calming measures like traffic lights or speed bumps are along, for example, Roosevelt or 37th Avenue, where you're seeing some of the highest traffic fatalities?
So we'd have to check for you specifically any given corridor and what, our crash stats are, what we've done to date, and any plans that we have. I don't have that information right now.
And has DOT studied how often jaywalking occurs and what percentage of pedestrian crossings would constitute jaywalking?
So as I mentioned, we do know that within the last 5 years, there were 200 fatalities involving jaywalking, and jaywalking as defined by either crossing mid-block or not at the crosswalk, or crossing in the crosswalk but without the walk signal. So that's 34% of pedestrian fatalities are due to jaywalking. So that's a significant percentage.
And NYPD issued approximately 450 jaywalking summonses last year. Does either DOT or NYPD believe that there were only 450 jaywalkers last year?
I think we would all agree that jaywalking is in larger incidents than that.
Okay. And we want New Yorkers to cross the street safely, but does DOT and NYPD in this instance have any evidence that the law actually deters jaywalking? And how do we reconcile the fact that this law is basically never enforced except largely against Black and brown New Yorkers? So I hear you in terms of them being in high crash locations, but when we look at the data across the city, there are 4 precincts that have the highest number of tickets issued, and that is 3 in Brooklyn and 1 that is in the 115th precinct. And they're overwhelmingly Black and brown. So we know that, as you just mentioned, more than 450 jaywalking instances took place last year. Only 450 were ticketed. Those were ticketed in communities where overwhelmingly Black and brown people were getting tickets for that. So we're trying to kind of reconcile this. And so going back to the question, is there any evidence that the law actually deters jaywalking? And how do we reconcile that with the fact that this law is basically never enforced except against Black and brown New Yorkers?
So let me comment a little, and then I'll turn it back over to NYPD. We are also concerned about this issue that you're raising, and that is why we believe or we support having jaywalking be a civil offense, not a criminal offense. However, just stating that jaywalking is totally legal, we believe very strongly that's the wrong message to send to New Yorkers, right? Every user, as the chief said, has a responsibility. Motorists, cyclists, pedestrians, everybody has to do the part to keep themselves safe and to keep others safe. So pedestrians crossing in a crosswalk at the expected time and in the expected place is better for everyone else on the road, motorists in particular, to know where to expect them. When a pedestrian steps out mid-block, or sometimes we see pedestrians walking on highways, places like that they are not expected, that catches a driver unaware and increases the chance of something happening to that pedestrian. So we feel very strongly we should not legalize this and send the message out that it's okay to walk anywhere at any time.
Yeah, so we're in agreement with that stance. In my experience as a police officer, the vast majority of times when a police officer witnesses jaywalking in an extreme case where someone is almost struck or is causing a congestion issue, it's a conversation between the police officer and that person. And it rarely ever leads to a summons, as the data suggests. But at times, there is a summons that takes place if that is not well received or it's not taken seriously. That option, that level of option, to hold someone accountable that could cause injury to another, I think needs to be in place. And there's got to be a level of expectation as people navigate the roadway. We all follow the same rules and keep each other safe. It can't be just haphazard, let's do as we will. I think we're in lockstep, NYPD and DOT, and our understanding of this.
And regarding decriminalizing it and making it a civil penalty rather than legalizing it altogether, how would this result in fewer discriminatory stops? It could be still used as a pretext to target minority communities, which is a serious harm to the social fabric of the city. I think we all would agree. And would reducing it to a civil penalty result in a lower deterrence effect?
And again, the police department is very conscious of implicit and explicit bias in policing. So when the data suggests something like that, we're more conscious now than ever to dig into that data to make sure that that policing method that was used and whatever that outcome was lawful and within guidelines, where our administrative guide, specifically 304-17, prohibits bias-based policing. So
Have you begun digging into those numbers? Because I personally was shown a video of an engagement with about 3 young men of color that was followed into a bodega in Brooklyn and asked for ID. And when they were approached and they asked, why are you asking for the ID? They would say you were jaywalking. But this instance is now away from that site, and the aggression that was displayed in that leaves to, a lot to question. So when we see these high numbers, like you said, it like jumped off the page to you, what steps are being taken to correct that or to understand it better, rather?
Right, Chair, I agree with you. This is something, this data has to be examined. I examined the 115. By my examination of the 115, I found that their use of the jaywalking VTL violations, criminal court summons, was strategic. But like I said, it was 439 criminal court summonses for jaywalking so far, year to date. Each individual case is different. It would take extensive research for each, it's all different circumstances, how that encounter happened and what the observations were. I'm saying the 115, just the data itself, whatever happened on the back end, the data itself shows it's precision related.
Do you have an idea of what tools in the toolbox the officers in other precincts that have lower citations for jaywalking are using? Because I'm sure there are high crash areas as well. Because when you, right here by City Hall, people jaywalk back and forth going across these streets here. In certain communities, downtown Brooklyn, folks are crossing, I see them jaywalking all the time, but they're not necessarily getting these citations either. So what are those officers seeing or doing differently, or how are they engaging differently versus the ones that, like you said, are being strategic with those tickets, or engagements rather?
Well, I can say from the 115, they're doing both approach. They're doing an educational outreach approach, and they're doing an enforcement approach. So they're combating in both ways. Some commands perhaps strictly go with an educational approach. Every command, every community is different, and the officers approach it in a different manner. There's really no specific directive given down, but we want the public to know that we expect them to cross these roadways in a safe manner, and we know through common sense the crosswalks with the signal is the safest area for them, and we want to drive down the numbers of pedestrian fatalities to zero, and we made a great accomplishment in 2023 to the lowest numbers in quite some time. It's not looking that way this year. We're plus 11 year to date in pedestrian fatalities. We had 2 pedestrians struck just this morning, one up in Mott Haven, 149 in Morris, struck mid-block, crossing a road, critically injured. The other one on 58th between 9th and 10th, crossing mid-block, struck and killed. So this is a serious problem that I think just a blanket legalize it and put the message out there, it's a free-for-all, would be a very bad message and would be a extreme danger to public safety.
And Commissioner, do you find that there are more crashes that occur with jaywalking from the middle of the block versus the crosswalk, or are they happening more at the crosswalk?
I'd have to get back to you.
Because I'm interested in understanding that too, like maybe it's a matter of street design as well, because I know sometimes when DOT lays out certain street designs, it complicates the way traffic and pedestrians move that I've found in my own district. So I wonder if that contributes to it in any way as well. And has DOT considered outreach campaigns to encourage safer crossings rather than rely on NYPD's enforcement of the law? Like, has there been a public campaign on this?
We have done some in the past, but I think it's an excellent suggestion, and we can look at doing something new.
And has DOT examined other jurisdictions like Virginia, Nevada, California, and other cities like Denver that have legalized jaywalking to see what they're doing right or what we can learn from them in terms of prioritizing pedestrians on the streets while also keeping them safe?
I know one of our units that does a lot of analysis and research has looked at that in the past. We will see if they have looked at any of that recently to see what we can learn from it.
And just to kind of reemphasize, I agree, like we want to make sure that folks are definitely following the law, whatever it is, whether you're a motorist, a cyclist, or a pedestrian. It's just that it is alarming when you see that in the 115th precinct, seeing as many tickets that have been issued, 92% of them went to Hispanics, even though they only comprise 63% of that population in that particular community. And so that is something that we need to figure out how to reconcile that as well. Next, I wanted to move on to sidewalk repair outside of NYCHA. When DOT receives a complaint regarding a sidewalk on a NYCHA campus, that is not their responsibility. What communication takes place with NYCHA?
So when DOT gets a complaint on a NYCHA property and the complaint is on the perimeter, DOT will go out and inspect, and DOT will make it safe so that the defect and the complaint is basically kind of resolved, and then DOT will work with the housing authority to put it on a repair for permanent, put it on our schedule for a permanent repair.
Is DOT aware of the condition of sidewalks outside of NYCHA operated developments, and why aren't these sidewalks properly taken care of?
So DOT is generally aware of conditions on housing authority properties. However, when we get complaints, that will draw us to a property quicker. However, every year we work with the housing authority to identify the properties that have the worst conditions, and we put them in our program for reconstruction for that construction year. So the Housing Authority, they identify properties that they want to get taken care of, and our team, we also identify properties that we would like to take care of as well. And so every year, we do coordinate to do repairs to Housing Authority properties.
Thank you. And what would it take for DOT to get all sidewalks outside of the perimeter of NYCHA developments back into good condition?
We would have to get back to you on that number.
Thank you. Next, I'm gonna have Majority Leader Farias ask questions.
Thank you so much, Majority Whip. Just quickly for DOT on Introduction 745. I know you've listed a variety of areas where we are aggregating this data and putting it out for public consumption. Is there a specific report or analysis that the agency does that reflects anything surrounding cycling or cycling activity, or any streets or bridges most frequently biked on? Is there a study or is there a report that goes out to the mayor, to the city council, or to the public that's aggregated information into a report, either quarterly, annually, biannually, anything like that?
Yes, so speaking about our cycling information, on our website, we have pretty extensive information concerning cycling in the city. We have information that we collect ourselves. We do counts using sensors. We also do some counts that we get from the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, and we're constantly updating that information. We also have information on the bridges that we collect every year. In addition, some of the work that we do is that we base our cycling plans on also has to do with development of greenways, parts of the city that have been underserved for cycling, and that we're trying to encourage more cycling in the future. And we sort of package all of this together, and we put together our yearly cycling plans for both conventional lanes and parking protected or other protected bike lanes.
Okay, so I'm on the Cycling in the City website. It does have great highlights and some trend data, which I think is super important. But then there is at the bottom, I guess, a bunch of other links that are to the safety, the parking, the network and stats, the maps, events, which is great, and information on e-bikes. Is this, I guess what I'm hoping out of this bill is to have a one-stop kind of document that we get. What I'm hearing you folks say is that you do that in a variety of different phases that for aggregated data on the website for people to consume. So I'm happy to continue talking about maybe this page looking a bit more thorough through just policy-wise and what that looks like from the agency, or maybe having this bill be tweaked a bit to see what the outcome could be. So I appreciate your response here, and I'll take some further look at the cycling site from DOT to give any feedback. And then I just have some follow-up questions for the PD on the jaywalking bill. So I really appreciated the analysis that you came with today on the 115th precinct stats. I think that's a component and an aspect that we don't typically get to see in terms of analysis of data and, overlapping that with the DOT data we see versus the year before's data and how the precinct is trying to respond locally to actually answer for public safety. Like they're targeting that area with tickets to say, stop jaywalking, people are dying here, which I think is really important to highlight. The the level of education, I think, in the public, this comment is both for Department of Transportation and the PD, is just not real. I mean, we can all commonly agree that everyone jaywalks at some point in their life throughout the year, if not throughout the week, to just make crossing a street easier, getting to the bodega faster, whatever it is. And I think we probably as a city are failing in trying to encourage people at what safety really means in the public, and that is actually how they walk throughout the street and their relationship as pedestrians to cyclists, people on bicycles, and people in cars. And I know that's not necessarily very liked to say, but I had a quick question on the body camera footage. Are body cameras on when, and they're supposed to be on, correct, with any interaction with someone in the public?
That's correct.
Are we regularly reviewing in these offhand instances where, like in reference to what the majority whip stated with the video I think we all saw, where officers went in after into a store with young people stating that they were jaywalking? Like, do we review that and kind in that moment kind of with any of these offhand interactions, or is it just complaint basis? How are those instances
So
reviewed?
that's a great point you made, and I apologize that I didn't bring that up. So with that technology, we can review these stops to make sure that they are within guidelines, and they don't go against our administrative guidelines. So that's our ability, and our executive officers and the integrity control officers in each command and direct supervisors on a regular review a certain amount of body-worn cameras from their subordinates or those officers throughout the command, and they do spot checks. This could be an area where we could pinpoint and we can make sure that we're not outside guidelines when we're making this type of enforcement. So we can make it a pinpoint oversight if you wanted to. We understand that this was this incident resulted in a jaywalk summons. Let's look at the body-worn camera, and we can do an investigation. If we wanted to have that deep oversight on each jaywalk summons that's issued year to date.
Okay, I appreciate the responses. I'd like, what I will request of you folks is to please, and I know you will anyway, but speak with the prime sponsor on this bill. I'm a co-sponsor on the jaywalking bill. I appreciate what you brought up today with the data. I do think where we can, as a city, encourage people to be good neighbors, and that includes how you move throughout your community, which means also whether or not you are jaywalking. It's important for us to encourage good common practices by New Yorkers. I would also say if there's a way to incorporate having you folks be as detailed in these instances in some of your reporting out to the council and to the mayor, like this moment where you're seeing, might not be necessary to do every single interaction, but where you saw a spike, when you looked at this data in preparation for this hearing, maybe that should be regular practice in how we communicate outward to the local electeds, and to the city council, to even our partnering agencies, because it might be helpful in how we get to even interface. Like when I go to a community board, if I had my commanding officer telling me we're seeing a spike, we're giving out a lot of tickets, that's my responsibility to then go outward to the community and say, this is what's happening, and we need you all to be better neighbors. So I just would hope that you are in good communication with the prime sponsor to see how we can incorporate that into this bill.
It's a great idea. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Okay, great. Thank you, folks. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Next, we will hear from Councilmember Felix. We've also been joined by Councilmember Botcher and Ressler. Just ask everyone if you can adhere to the 2-minute time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So a few questions about my bill, the Green and White C bill, which would require that the city approve paved medians and by turning them into green and stormwater management systems. So in your testimony, you mentioned that you oppose the bill because of the resources that it'll take, and also because of the priorities in terms of locations that are set by DOT or the different agencies. Just got to say that's a very interesting position to take, When I drive around the city, I see many street medians. When you go to the wealthier parts of the city, whether it's residential areas or high-traffic commercial corridors, they generally have improved medians. They have greenery, they have trees, cozy neighborhoods. When you go to low-income communities, their medians have nothing but pavement, nothing but concrete. Perfect example, Fordham Road in my district. Large median that runs for about 20 blocks. In the wealthier parts where the big institutions are at, they'll have cozy medians with green trees and et cetera. When you get to the low-income parts of that specific median, that again runs for about 20 blocks, nothing but pavement, nothing but concrete. So, it just seems like, there's very little to no investment in the lower income communities, and people should not have to, live in a wealthy neighborhood to be able to get these types of investments in their communities. So a few questions. I know you mentioned resources in your testimony. How much would it cost to improve a general median, let's say 50 by 8 feet? Let's say a median that's already there, turning it from pavement to greenery.
Okay, council member, first of all, we totally share your desire to have more green, to be more resilient. First, to make a comment on your first statement about different neighborhoods having more green or less green. I wanted to point out that one recent approach that we've had with bringing greenery to neighborhoods with our safety projects are in several corridors, such as Grand Concourse, Atlantic Avenue, 4th Avenue, that have also gone through disadvantaged neighborhoods, and we've brought quite acres of greenery into those neighborhoods. In terms of costs, the way we do this is we work with DEP, maybe Parks, and DDC to implement projects such as the ones you're proposing. They're usually part of a larger project. DEP may do a standalone project to a resiliency project, but for DOT, they are often roadway redesign projects where we would install the planted medians. Every project is different in terms of what it entails, the width of the road, the complication from underground utilities, and the needs. So I don't have an easy number to provide for you at this time, but we could see if we can put something together with DDC.
All right, but I think that large median on Fordham Road is a great example to just illustrate my point. Literally, you have a low-income community, and also just minutes away from it, you have some of the largest institutions in the entire city. Those parts where the large institutions are at, they'll have greenery, they'll have cozy parts in their communities. The same is not true for the lower income parts of Fordham Road. They get gates, they get concrete pavement, nothing more. So I hope we could take a look at that as an example of a larger problem around our city. And if the chair could just permit one second brief question. Yep. All of us get emails all the time about new streets, new medians, new sidewalks going up. Just curious, how many have we created more or less in the last year, and how many have included greenery?
How many medians in particular have we created? Is that your question?
Whether it's medians or new sidewalk space, generally when a street space has very little to no value, they turn into sidewalks. So how many of those have we built or expanded, and how many include greenery?
Okay, so we have a number of capital projects either ongoing or completed with DDC. We can provide that information. Obviously, we have lots of plazas. We bring greenery into all of the plazas. We have, as I mentioned, very few standalone median projects, so it's very hard to pull that out. We collaborate with a lot of entities. One other location in the Bronx I wanted to mention was we did a lot of work with state DOT on the Sheridan, turning the Sheridan from an expressway into a local street, and there was a tremendous amount of greenery that was added to that as well. So we have like a lot of different irons in the fire, but they're all different types of projects, so we'd have to put that together for you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Next, we will hear from Councilmember Ariola, followed by Councilmember Ressler. Just reinforcing the 2-minute limit today, please.
Thank you, Chair. So there are 14 bills here, and you're not fully supportive of any of them, which blows my mind. In fact, you demeaned a number of them by calling them redundant or burdensome. That tells me that at your level in the DOT, you're operating in a silo, which means we need this legislation because we don't operate in a silo, we operate in our communities. So we're gonna go to 103. where we're asking for notification. You did note in your testimony that you notify for repaving, resurfacing, speed bumps, and things of that nature to community boards and council members. How many of those notifications go out monthly?
So to first comment on what you said before, we very much support the intent of many of these bills, and we're more than happy to work with the council on them. We can't just accept them wholesale if they have implications or there are issues with them. So I would just like to make a statement that we're very willing to work with you and your colleagues to see how we can go forward with these bills. In terms of notifications to community boards, we have our borough commissioners and other staff that are at community meetings, like literally each and every day, talking through the projects that we're working on, when they affect parking. Obviously, we speak about the parking. We comply with the Major Transportation Project law, which states that if we're affecting 1,000 feet of parking or 4 or more blocks, we provide notification. That's about a number of parties, and it's about 2 months before we would remove any of that parking. We also work with entities for construction-related purposes, like the MTA or the Department of Design and Construction, when a large project is coming, to make sure that communities are notified. The tricky thing about the bill that you're proposing, while we understand the intent of it, is that, as I stated, we have each and every day, we issue about 900 permits that can affect or do affect parking. And for us to start to delay that permit process and either do notifications ourselves or require those entities to notify community boards or council members, they'd be inundated with thousands and thousands of notifications every week. So that's where we feel that one is a little tricky.
So it's not tricky, and I'll tell you why it's not tricky. Because we deserve those notifications. Our communities deserve those notifications. And it's not you that are receiving the complaints when they wake up and find out that there are bicycle racks outside their house, or that there is a bike lane. And yes, we do support things like that. We have supported things like that, and we deserve to know prior to. And that's why this legislation is so important. Because if we can then notify our communities, then there could be either less pushback or a better place where you could do the placement of what you'd like to do. As far as the 104, we can't do enough to save people's lives. You're saying that you do all of this. You work with your sister agency to make the contact with FDNY. So where's the disconnect? Why are we seeing fire engines having ladders going across an entire closed street just so that they can get to a building that's on fire? Why do we see ambulances not able to go into open streets when someone's having a heart attack? Where is the disconnect in the notification?
Okay, first, on the parking removal, you mentioned both bike racks and bike lanes. For every city bike station, we do inform and work with the community prior.
I'm not talking about city bike. I'm talking about just the regular bike racks.
Okay.
That just pop up, and even if it's in the wrong spot, we have a lot of commercial corridors in our area, and a lot of parking is really at a premium. And when you put in 5 or 6 bike racks in parking spots and take up 3 or 4 parking spots for our brick and mortar store keeps, that's a problem. It's a problem that can be alleviated if you just had communication. But as I said, you're operating in a silo. You're not operating at a borough level. You're operating not knowing the community. So what I think is that Intro 103 and 104 will hold you accountable to let us know, let the fire department know, to make sure that safety is put first, to make sure the community is put first, and to make sure that everyone can have input, meaning our community board and the council members. We cannot just field these complaints each and every day because people are waking up to no parking in front of their homes. I mean, how much more could it slow you down? Look at how long it takes just to get a one-way sign up. 15 days of notification is not burdensome. It's what you should be doing. It's what we're asking you to do. It's legislation that we're putting forth because we were asked to do it. Each and every piece of legislation that's before you right now was put together because our constituents asked for it. So Instead of pushing back, we need to find ways to make this happen. Thank you for the extra time, Chair.
Thank you so much, Chair, and I just want to thank you for co-prime sponsoring Intro 79 with me. I really appreciate it. Always great to work together. Good to see you, DOT team. Hope you're all doing great on primary day. Our legislation, as you know, is about improving sidewalk lighting. And when our neighborhoods are well lit, our mixed-use commercial corridors are well lit, they are safer communities, they are healthier communities, they are more economically vibrant communities. There was a great UChicago study that found when there was improved lighting in NYCHA developments, we reduced crime by 40% in those developments during nighttime hours and improved economic activity in those communities. So I'm really excited about this legislation. Hope others are too. I don't know, royal we maybe. So I just wanted to try and understand a little bit better. Does DOT currently track what percentage of sidewalks on commercial corridors are adequately lit?
So every year we perform many studies of illumination on roadways and in sidewalks.
Individual roadways? I will say that Atlantic is dark, and you'll come out and study Atlantic and assess whether more illumination is necessary.
Correct.
But you couldn't answer a question citywide, what percentage of commercial corridors are adequately lit or inadequately lit?
We don't have that information readily available.
That data isn't tracked. And so if you do come out to Livingston Street in downtown Brooklyn and determine that there isn't adequate lighting, could you give me the time frame, Deputy Commissioner, from the time that, let's say you come out right away because we have a great relationship, or Commissioner Bray does a walking tour with me of the area. What's the time frame for a study to be completed, for a project to be funded, project to be executed, from the time that an analysis is conducted?
Right. So currently we have several different ways that we install new streetlights. We have a small capability of doing that ourselves. Most of them go into street lighting contracts. We have several different street lighting contracts. We're looking at more capacity to get those done more quickly. We are aware that they do take too long, and that sometimes it takes up to several years for people to get an increased level of lighting.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate you recognizing that the status quo is not working, because, we've gone on tours with DOT 2.5 years ago where they recognized there was a need for lighting. It was approved that there would be more illumination, and we're still waiting. And waiting through multiple winters is scary for people on dark mixed-use corridors where they're not getting the lighting they deserve. I just wanted to also ask about this from kind of a traffic safety standpoint. NYPD testified earlier this year, earlier in the hearing, that we saw a substantial increase in we've experienced a substantial increase in pedestrian deaths, pedestrian fatalities on our roadways this year to date. What effect does distance to closest streetlight have on the frequency of nighttime pedestrians killed and the rates of pedestrians killed or severely injured during night times? Is that something that you all have studied or could offer some insight on?
So at every fatal site, we send out our staff to inspect the conditions. Okay, they look at, was there some kind of pavement condition? Are the markings good? Are any lights out? Does the lighting appear adequate if it was at night? So
I know that your team does analysis after tragedies occur, but what I'm asking is actually in advance.
Okay, so
are we
let me
thinking
mention-
holistically about how we could prevent these unnecessary deaths that are increasing at unfortunately higher rates?
Sure. So as part of Vision Zero since 2014, we have improved lighting at thousands of intersections to illuminate the sidewalk and the crosswalks. At high crash or high concern corridors, we've installed over 3,000 new lights as part of this effort to get at exactly what you're saying, council member.
Okay. I mean, look, I guess what I would, and I'll shut up after this, Chair, is I really appreciate that y'all are trying to do a lot of good work and that you're recognizing there's some operational issues that need to be improved upon, and we've talked about this at a previous hearing, so I appreciate you underscoring that point again. What I think our legislation gets at that's important is that we are not comprehensively tracking this information. We're not setting appropriate goals for ourselves as a city and as a Department of Transportation for how many of our commercial corridors are being properly lit each and every year and what the myriad benefit impacts are of that proper lighting of our sidewalk and of that sidewalk space and intersections in terms of reducing traffic fatalities, in terms of improving economic activity, in terms of improving safety in our community, in terms of just making our neighbors feel better walking in their community. It would make a big difference. I'm happy to discuss and debate the exact rate, the power of the lights and making sure that we legislate that appropriately, but we should be prioritizing improving pedestrian spaces much more than we do today, and having North Star goals and metrics that we're holding ourselves to account to, not just responding when incidents occur, I think would be a better approach than where we are currently. So appreciate the little bit of extra time there, and thanks for answering the questions.
Councilmember Bottcher.
Thank you, Chair Brooks Powers, for hearing our legislation today. I want to begin by acknowledging Robin Felcher, who's here with us today, who's Robin's wife, who is also a beloved community leader in Greenwich Village, was tragically struck and killed by an SUV on October 3rd on Greenwich Avenue, right in front of their apartment building in the village. And Lori's death not only left a hole in the heart of the Greenwich Village community, it was also a extremely tragic reminder of how much more work we need to do to make our streets safe from traffic violence. And I want to thank Robin for the bravery that it must take to come here and testify to make our streets safer, to save the lives of others. Today, our legislation introduction 633 is being heard that would address the news racks on the sidewalks. And people ask, Eric, why are you spending time focusing on those news boxes on the sidewalks with those publications? Because they look bad a lot of times. And look, I like these things. I like to get the free dailies, but it matters how a neighborhood looks. We have to do more to uplift how neighborhoods look. Things that these news boxes, when they're abandoned, vandalized, tipped over, filled with garbage, it sends a message that this is a neighborhood that is not cared for, and it sends a signal to others that this is something that's okay in this neighborhood. On the contrary, something's well maintained, it sends a message that this is a neighborhood that's well cared for, and this is a place that of respect, and it affects people's everyday lives. So the legislation that we're introducing that would enable the Department of Transportation to establish stricter guidelines for the maintenance of these news boxes, while also allowing them to continue to be there because we want to support our local media. I think it's overdue. In your testimony, you said that you had previously supported news rack reforms and would be happy to discuss this bill further with the council. Can you be a little more clear about your stance on this legislation?
So we do agree with you that having standards on the type of news rack that should be out there is very important. Having guidelines where the news rack should be positioned in the corner in relation to other infrastructure that are out there, that's important. We agree with you 100%. One of our concerns is the level of communication that it takes for us to reach out to the publisher to actually allow us to then do some type of an enforcement effort. We wish that there could be online registration of publications. We wish that we can do email notifications to make them aware of conditions that we see out there. We wish that we can issue electronic summonses so that they can have to respond in a much more quicker way. So, that would then allow us to have removals a lot quicker than we presently have as well. So we are lockstep in trying to have news racks that are standardized, that are placed in the right place, and that aren't tipping over and falling. We totally agree with that. And so we're not stopping you. We're simply saying, what can we do more? What we can do more is that we can have, we feel, more timely communication with the publishers so that they can respond to us and then we can then respond. And with all of our enforcement efforts around other permits that we have around the city that we go out and inspect and have to give out summonses, we have those type of communications. So if we can do that, we feel we can have a greater impact.
And the language that we included in the legislation to require the mayor's office of ethnic and community media to be involved in the promulgation of the rules, that should help address some of the communication issues. So the administration supports the legislation?
We support your legislation because
Thank you.
It takes us a step further.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to public testimony now. Thank you for...
Chair, I have some answers to a few of your questions if you have a moment.
Okay.
Okay, you asked about how many bollard requests we get. We get about 5 revocable consent bollards from private entities per year on average. We don't generally get bollard requests for individual safety locations. These are more for buildings or private sites. For jaywalking, it's about 50-50 split between mid-block versus intersection, okay? And then you asked about Denver and Virginia. Both Denver and Virginia are actually seeing a rise in pedestrian fatalities. Denver had the highest number of pedestrian fatalities ever in 2023, and of course, we had our lowest. So that's some information on those places.
Thanks so much. We'll have some questions to follow up with, I'm sure, but thank you for your testimony. Next, we will go to the public comment portion of this hearing. I remind members of the public that this is a government proceeding and that decorum shall be observed at all times. As such, members of the public shall remain silent at all times. The witness table is reserved for people who wish to testify. No video recording or photography is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recordings as testimony, but may submit transcripts of such recordings to the Sergeant-at-Arms for inclusion in the hearing record. If you wish to speak at today's hearing, please fill out an appearance card with the Sergeant-at-Arms and wait to be recognized. When recognized, you will have 2 minutes to speak on today's hearing topics: oversight, intersection, sidewalks, and pedestrian safety. This will focus on introduction number 79, introduction number 95, introduction number 103, introduction 104, introduction 144, introduction 301, introduction 346, introduction 468, introduction 504, introduction 542, introduction 663, introduction 745, introduction 746, introduction 773. If you have a written statement or additional written testimony you wish to submit for the record, please provide a copy of that testimony to the Sergeant-at-Arms. You may also email written testimony to testimony@council.nyc.gov within 72 hours of this hearing. Audio and video recordings will not be accepted. Now we will call the first panel. Elizabeth Adams, Natalie Peoples, Robin Fisher, and I apologize if I messed it up. Maybe Felcher? Felcher, sorry. William Medina and Matthew Choi. You may begin.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you, Chair, and to the committee for today's hearing. I'm Elizabeth Adams, Interim Co-Executive Director at Transportation Alternatives. Almost every New Yorker is a pedestrian, and everyone deserves safe, sustainable, and healthy streets. Investing in pedestrian safety makes our streetscape a safer and more pleasant place to spend time for all, whether someone is commuting to work, walking to their doctor's appointment, or spending time with family and loved ones in a pedestrian plaza. As we enter the 10th year of Vision Zero, it is time for the city to make serious, urgent investments in pedestrian infrastructure and make New York the most walkable city in the world. Safe infrastructure means daylighting every intersection, hardened infrastructure measures talked about today, like raised crosswalks and bollards, and dedicating more sidewalk and streetscape space overall for pedestrians to move around safely. People with various mobility needs and across ages deserve a streetscape that prioritizes their needs and their well-being. We support the following pieces of legislation that improve pedestrian safety, fully laid out in our written testimony submitted. But first, I want to specifically call out the importance of Councilmember Narcise's bill, Intro 346. And I have to say I'm extremely disappointed to hear the DOT put blame on pedestrians in this matter. Jaywalking has no business being criminalized in New York City in 2024. Most every New Yorker jaywalks regularly, certainly more than 450, or the Summons note cited. But enforcement disproportionately, overwhelmingly, and unfairly targets Black and brown New Yorkers, over 90%. TA wholeheartedly supports this bill, which would decriminalize jaywalking, and it is time to take this outdated policy off the books. In addition, we support Intro 144, Intro 79 and 301, 504, 745, 746, and really appreciate the discussion being held here today. And then lastly, we oppose 103 and 104, which would add bureaucratic barriers to critical safety infrastructure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next. Turn on the mic, please.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Natalie Peoples. I am the Director of Youth Justice Policy and Training at the Juvenile Rights Practice at the Legal Aid Society. We heard at the beginning of this hearing from Councilmember Narcise about the statistics related to jaywalking and the ticketing of jaywalking and its disproportionality. What I want to talk a little bit about is about a population that's dear to my heart, which are our kids. In 2023, there are statistics that are available in open data that shows that youth, children, so people under the age of 18, that were ticketed for jaywalking, 80% of them were Black. Now, there was a study that was published in 2022 in the Journal of Developmental Psychology, and it was studying police stops and its impact on youth. And it found that adolescents who were stopped by the police reported more disengagement at school and enhanced psychological distress. Now, free and open streets should be a right for all New Yorkers, regardless of the color of their skin, and that's not what's happening here in our city. I walked from my office over here, and I lost count at about 10, the number of people who are jaywalking. The kids I work with see this happening in other parts of the city. They see people who don't look like them, who are allowed to jaywalk, and who do not get ticketed. As I said, free and open streets should be available for everybody, regardless of the color of their skin. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Please turn on the mic. Press the button.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson Brooks Powers, the committee, and other council persons who are serving New York. We really appreciate your service. My name is Robin Felcher. I'm a member of Families for Safe Streets, and I'm here today for the first time at a City Council hearing to, one, speak on the pedestrian public safety emergency we're experiencing, and two, to urge the Council to take concrete steps to protect pedestrians. I'm also here on behalf of myself, my beloved wife of 12 years, Lori Kleiman, 76, who was hit at about 6:45 p.m. on October 3rd by a mammoth SUV that was being driven by an Uber driver. Lori had the green light and was in the middle of the crosswalk on Greenwich Avenue in front of our home when the driver failed to yield and struck her. She died the next day at Bellevue Medical Center from severe brain trauma. I have not been told since then that there have been any criminal consequences for the driver as a result of this horrific crash. My life has been totally upended as a result of Lori's death. As a member of Families for Safe Streets, I have met many families whose loved ones have been injured or killed by vehicles. I know for sure that these senseless deaths and injuries could have been prevented. Pedestrian safety improvements make our streets safer for every single road user. Raised crosswalks and intersections and speed reducers near schools are critical infrastructure that will save lives. Bollards, too, are important protection for pedestrians and should be required at sidewalks, curb extensions, and pedestrian ramps. It is also very important to me that we decriminalize jaywalking. Most New Yorkers jaywalk regularly, but enforcement disproportionately, overwhelmingly, and unfairly targets Black and brown New Yorkers. In 2022, 84% of jaywalking tickets went to Black and brown New Yorkers. We deserve a city that makes it safe to travel on our sidewalks and streets, no matter what transportation we use. You have the power to make the changes needed to prevent crashes like the one that happened to my wife and the loved ones of so many other members of Families for Safe Streets.
Thank you. Next. No, you. Mr. Medina.
Good afternoon. Thank you to Council Member Brooks Powers, Chair of the Committee of Transportation and Infrastructure, and all the members of this committee for the opportunity to testify on behalf of the Worker Justice Project and Los Deliveristas Unidos. My name is William Medina. I'm a deliverista with Uber Eats, member of Worker Justice Project and leader of Deliveristas Unidos, to fight for better workplace conditions for app-based delivery workers in the gig economy. We are grateful to testify today in support of a number of legislative proposals that will make our streets safer for pedestrians, bike riders, and deliveristas. As a delivery worker, I work on the front lines delivering food and essential goods to New Yorkers who rely on us to stay home safe. We work as independent contractors for multi-billion-dollar app delivery companies who are continuously pressuring us to do this job faster, without regard to our safety. As more and more workers depend on e-micromobility devices to work or get to work, there is a need to build a better infrastructure that keeps e-bike working cyclists and pedestrians safe. We strongly support INT 0144, 0079, 0095, which will improve the safety of pedestrian and e-bike riders. As deliveristas, we deeply care about the safety and pedestrian, and we are looking forward to working with New York City Council to deliver a comprehensive approach to safety, one that prioritizes education, collaboration, and empowerment rather than punitive measures. Our city has an infrastructure crisis that does not meet the new reality of working-class New workers. As Los Deliveristas Unidos, we are looking forward to working together to make the streets safe for pedestrian, e-bike riders, and all New Yorkers. We're ready to partner with New York City Council to deliver safety education, resign our sidewalks, and expand bike-protected bike lanes, and make it accessible and affordable to transition to micro-mobility devices. Thank you all council members for your support, and we are ready to empower our community and protect everyone in our streets. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to thank Robin for that powerful testimony as well. My name is Matthew Choi. I'm testifying on behalf of Open Plans. Our mission is to promote a people-first street culture, and safe public streets are critical to that mission. In that spirit, we support a number of the bills on the slate today, with the notable exception of 103 and 104, which we strongly oppose. I do, however, want to call out support of Intro 95 in particular. Our group has been helping public schools across the city enroll in school streets programming, and we consistently hear from those partners about struggles to hire crossing guards and about dangerous traffic conditions around schools. Of the 70 children killed in the Vision Zero era while walking or biking, a third of them have been killed on their way to or from schools. These tragedies are completely preventable. While we think raised crosswalks and speed bumps are essential tools in making streets safer for kids, these are one solution in a wide-ranging toolkit, and as we heard from the department, they cannot be installed everywhere. We would love a holistic study inclusive of raised crosswalks, bollards, curb bumps, daylighting, car-free school streets, speed limits, and better lighting and signaling. Many of these measures have actually been addressed piecemeal in other legislation and other DOT efforts, some of which have been discussed at this session. We also know a study is not the same as implementation. We're very heartened by the commitment to intersection safety, but we're pushing to quicken the pace of improvements. In this spirit, we strongly oppose 103 and 104, as we did at the December 4th, 2023 hearing. These bills would be barriers to changes, and they would cement parking, in our view, as the default view of the curb, when we really should be transitioning into making our curb work for all users, not just those with cars. As DOT is trying and struggling, frankly, to implement its curb management action plan and is already struggling to meet the mandates in the streets plan, we think these requirements would serve as a major impediment. We also oppose Intro 103. As we heard, DOT already consults with FDNY and first responders on its projects. The rise in emergency response times goes hands in hand with the rise of the number of private cars on our streets. Blaming this on a lack of parking spaces or corner planters is misguided. Further detail on our opposition and support of various bills is in our written testimony. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I appreciate everyone's testimony. We're about to go to those who are online to testify. I will say the bill in particular that talks about engaging the FDNY, we've seen and heard firsthand from our local firehouses, particularly in Rockaway, where there have been modifications to the landscape of our roads. And they have, as a result, delayed response times because of that. So while DOT may currently work in tandem at headquarters, that is not trickling down currently in a way that ensures that everyone is safe. And that includes whether it's a crash, whether it's a heart attack or a stroke. I literally have videos sitting on the block of my office where the fire truck cannot get through. And they have made modifications, and it's not only limited to the bike lanes and things like that, because quite honestly, it's the construction too. Because when I first got elected, there was construction happening, and there was no coordination with the local firehouses, and that's dangerous. So I hear you, but at the end of the day, I think we have to be responsible, and we have to find a way to work together to make sure it's not just bureaucratic, but to make sure at the same time that emergency personnel can get to people when they need to. Next, we'll hear from Glenn Belaski, as well as followed by Eric McClure, and followed by Diana Moorer. Glenn, you gonna start?
You may begin.
Glenn, you're unmuted. I guess we'll come back.
Next, we'll hear from Eric McClure.
You may begin.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. My name is Eric McClure. I am the Executive Director of Streets PAC. I hope you'll indulge me if I go a little long because there's a lot of legislation under consideration today. Pedestrian safety, especially at intersections and on sidewalks, is a critical issue, as even in 2023, a relatively safe year, more than 100 New Yorkers were killed by drivers while walking, with many of those fatalities occurring in or near crosswalks. And while last year saw some of the lowest totals for pedestrian deaths on record, it was an unusually deadly year for people on bikes, with many of those fatalities happening in or near intersections. The bottom line is that we need to do better as a city in protecting vulnerable street users. We need to continue slowing and calming vehicular traffic with the passage of Sammy's Law earlier this year. That should help. We need to continue investing in street designs that improve safety, including getting the city on track to meet the benchmarks set by the streets plan, adhering to state law that mandates daylighting at intersections, and making additional investments in life-saving infrastructure like curb extensions, bollards, concrete pedestrian refuges, and hardened protected bike lanes. All these steps and many more are necessary if Vision Zero is ever going to be more than a slogan. As the North American city with the best public transit system and one of the most robust cycling networks, we must continue to get people out of cars, make walking and biking safe, and put preserving lives above all else. As to the legislation under consideration today, Intro 746, we support. That would require the city to improve paved medians by planting vegetation or adding stormwater management infrastructure. The city should certainly do more to increase greenery, reduce heat island effects, and minimize runoff. But we also need to make sure that we're providing the Parks Department with sufficient resources to install and maintain plantings. Intro 663, we support. New York City, while we support free speech and understand its implications regarding news, there's no reason that in 2024, New York City can't better regulate news racks. With sidewalk space at a premium in the city, news racks should be orderly and well maintained. Intro 346, we support with qualification. Intro 346, which should decriminalize jaywalking, a construct of the advent of the motoring age.
Your time has expired.
Hegemony of the automobile, we support with qualification. It's often safer for pedestrians to cross streets mid-block, away from the turning movements that so often are the cause of injury and death, and the existing prohibition on crossing outside of crosswalks is not applied remotely equitably, with the vast majority of jaywalking tickets issued to people of color. However, we have concern with the language in the bill that advises pedestrians to yield when crossing mid-block, rather than a requirement to yield, which would likely reduce unsafe conflict. For the remainder of the legislation, Intro 79, we support in concept. We're not sure about the lighting levels or the extent of the need for the sidewalk lighting outlined in the legislation. Intro 95, we also support in concept, although we don't think it's necessary to have a study. These things are things that the city should just do. Same goes for Intro 144. For bollard installation.
Sorry,
Your
Eric,
time's expired.
I'm just gonna ask if you don't mind wrapping it up and then putting the rest in writing to me.
Sure. Just to wrap up, we also join our other colleagues who've testified in strongly opposing Intros 103 and 104, which we believe are really just designed to hamstring projects like bike lanes and open street applications. We will submit more detailed responses in our written testimony. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Eric. I just want to make sure that we have not missed anyone online or in the room. Online, we have listed Kelly Carroll, Vanessa Della Osa, Dashiell Kane, Sarah Lind, Alejandro Grajales, Faye Hill, Diana Mora. Diana, are you on?
Yes. Can you hear me?
We can now.
Oh, okay. Thank you. My name is Diana Mora. I'm speaking about the new proposals put forward by Councilmember Eric Botcher regarding the news rack situation. This is an issue that I've been railing about since, like, I think 1999. And I appreciate that Councilmember Botcher is looking into this situation. He says some people don't think it's important. I still think it is. One of the things is listed is, and some of the other people on the panel spoke to it, that they said it would be easier as far as DOT if the boxes were identified with the publication's name, their address, their phone number, their email, and all that stuff. This was passed in 2003. That is 21 years ago, where these boxes were required to be identified so that they could be reported either by the public or DOT or whomever. It's a sticker. It hasn't been done. It's being put on here again. Why? It's already part of the current regulations. And like I said, that was issued 21 years ago in 2003. As far as the maintenance goes, they're terrible. People complaining about garbage. I want to mention that I've seen it twice, but one time last year, I was with actually a business owner here on 7th Avenue. In addition to garbage, these boxes are now being used as, and who knows for how long, being used as drug drop-off points. We were standing outside, this super hot vehicle comes racing up down 7th Avenue. A guy jumps out of the driver's seat, opens up the box, pulls out a brown paper bag, jumps back in the car, and speeds off. We were both standing there looking at each other like.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm going to ask you to wrap up, please.
And I just want, as far as maintenance goes, I feel that the publications should pay for use of the sidewalk space. We're charging our restaurants to use sidewalk space. Free speech does not mean free space, and I think they should pay for the privilege of using public space. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Diana. Next, we will hear from Glenn Belofsky, followed by Alan Moman.
You may begin.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Can everyone hear me today?
We can hear you.
Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me today?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I want to compliment the chair, central staff, and the district staff as well, because there's just an immense amount of legislation here today. I think I counted 14 items, which is just a very large amount of scope. And our teams, and as well as the disability community, supports all of these legislative items. We want to see progress. This represents progress. And I want to thank the chair and the team for getting it done. Thank you for getting it done.
Thank you, Glenn. Good to see you. Next, we will hear from Alan Moman.
You may begin.
Good. Thank you. Hi, I'm a resident of Brooklyn. I want to just reiterate what past speakers have said in favor of most of these, especially 346 for jaywalking, 144 and 195. I am strongly opposed to 103 and 104. They are, as others have said, just designed to slow down the process of improving safety in our streets and continue to promote a car-centric city. One key thing around those, around fire safety, I want to remind the council that building codes have continued to improve in recent years, yet streets have gotten wider at the request of fire departments. We need to make sure that we're taking a sensible approach to street safety and being holistic about public safety overall, and not favoring fire safety in exchange for more and more traffic deaths that we've seen to continue to rise over the last many years. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And with that, if we have not missed anyone here in the chamber, with that, we thank everybody who testified today. It was a long list of bills, but they were really important bills. I thank everyone for taking their time to express their support or opposition of all of these bills. And with that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Ending webinar.